What's good, YouTube? Today we're going to be discussing the top defensive players in College Football 25, at least our early predictions. Obviously, we have the top 100 list, and I'm not just going to go down the list of 1 to 100. What we're actually going to do is we're going to go position by position, and I'm going to tell you what I think are going to be the most important players on your teams. Obviously, everyone's going to have a different team, so you're not going to have all of these players on your squad, but there is the transfer portal, so there's always the chance you may get these players later down the road in your dynasty, or there may be players very similar to them. Obviously, we don't have any of the abilities yet, so we don't know what players will have what, and we don't know what abilities are going to be super elite yet. But we can kind of make our best guesses based on the players of who's going to be the best and kind of the importance of each position. So College Football 25 looks very run heavy, at least from everything we've seen so far. Passing still looks good, don't get me wrong, but we haven't seen anyone play against a very good user that knows how to make adjustments, do zone drops, use that user switch stick, all that stuff. Like, there's a lot of things you can do on defense. I mean, even the disguising your coverage as a cover 2, cover 3, whatever you want to disguise it as. That's a big gameplay change. It's going to affect defense a lot for a lot of people. And a lot of people are going to throw a lot of picks, myself included. We're going to throw a lot of interceptions this year, trying to learn the new throwing meter, learn what windows we can get these passes into. And then overall, it's just, I mean, the switch stick, the coverage shells, everything's going to be a lot to learn that first month of the game. So we're going to start with the cornerbacks for 2 reasons. One, you're still going to need good corners with good speed. But that doesn't necessarily mean you need to have a 96 overall corner with 95 speed. There's a lot of cornerbacks that may be 74 overall, 80 overall. They're going to have 91, 92, 93, 94 speed. These are the kind of players you want on your team. Obviously, you want cornerbacks that have abilities if possible. So, I mean, obviously, the top one would be Will Johnson from Michigan. I mean, he's number 1 on the entire game, 96 overall, 92 speed, 95 excel. Obviously, we can't see all of his stats as far as zone coverage, man coverage, press. But that's going to be a very solid corner if you're playing on Michigan. But what's going to be really important and what we need to see with certain teams is tackle. Tackle, pursuit, and probably like block shedding. That's going to be very important stats in this game. People are going to want to run the ball. They're going to want to run option plays. You're going to have the people that are going to be heavy passers here and there, but people are going to probably run the ball a lot more in this game than they do in Madden. You need corners that are physical, big bodies that can block shed, that can tackle, and have good pursuit. That's going to be one of the main things that we're going to be looking for our cornerbacks. And again, it's really unfortunate we don't have all of the stats yet, but I mean, even things like Benjamin Morrison with that 94 speed, just being able to get to the running backs quicker and blow up the angles faster, super valuable. So we need to find corners with high speed. Obviously, speed's always super important in college football and in Madden, all of that. It's been like that in every football game we've ever played. But you want the excel as well. I don't know what strength affects in college football. If it affects anything, it might impact block shedding a little bit. Maybe there's some kind of ability tied to it. We don't know that yet. But you want high speed, high acceleration. So obviously, if you're one of these top 100 teams, I mean, these are the corners you're going to have. We got Will Johnson, Benjamin Morrison, Tesario Davis. Like, you've got a lot of players on this list at the cornerback spot, but we need to see the full 100 because obviously, I mean, unless you're one of these teams, you're not going to have a cornerback in the top 100. So you're going to have to really dive deep into your roster and in recruiting as well to find these players that can tackle well and have high pursuit. Pursuit looks like it's going to be probably the top stat for defense this year. You need players that take the right angles and get to the ball quickly, because as soon as someone gets into that spot with just your safety, plays over. Like, I mean, the juke move is good, the spin move is good, the left stick movement is good, so that's going to be very important, is that pursuit and the tackling. For the defensive line, I put everyone here, right end, defensive tackle, and left end. Let's just discuss all of them at the same time. So obviously these players are going to be super important for getting to the passer, stopping these plays from developing 3-4 seconds into the play, and that's whenever coverages start to get broken, players start to get open and do bounce back routes, all that. But it's going to be super important, probably more important than ever, to have players with not only high speed, again, speed's always going to be important, but with good block shedding and good pursuit and tackle. You want players that can stop the play before it even begins. If you don't have a good defensive line and you're always having to rely on your worst tackling players like your corners and your safeties, you're going to be in for a long year of Dynasty or online mode or whatever you play. You're going to be in for a tough time. So you need to really value recruiting defensive linemen. I think that's going to be one of the top things to really worry about this year. We don't know what formations are going to be good. We don't know what the meta will be. We don't know if people are going to be running 2 linebackers, no linebackers, a lot of safeties like big nickel over G. Like, we don't know yet. But one thing I can tell you right now, without even having my hands on the game yet, your defensive line is going to be probably the most important it's ever been. So make sure you're going after players with high speed, high tackle, high pursuit. Again, I'm so annoyed that we can't see the full list. I know that it's something. At least they gave us the top 100 list, but I would love to go through and look at the stats of some of these players. But we do have, Michigan, you've got Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant on the same squad. That's going to be a super solid defensive line. And plus, they have another player, I can't remember his name, but he's like an 87, just barely out of that top 100 list. So value your defensive line and go after those big name players more than anything. Obviously, if you can get a solid running back and a couple of speedy wide receivers in your recruiting process, your offense will be fine. Like, you don't need to have a super crazy 99 wide receiver to be good at this game. It doesn't look like that's going to be the case. Get a speedy running back, get a solid QB with some solid throw power. Your offense will be fine. Go for these defensive linemen. I promise you, you're going to really regret it if you don't go strong and heavy into recruiting defensive linemen. For the linebackers, I put, again, all of them on the same list. Right outside linebacker, middle linebacker, left outside linebacker. These guys can also be used on your defensive line depending on what formation you're in. Obviously, your middle linebackers will usually be the guy in coverage or playing the run from the middle of the field. So having a middle linebacker might be valuable. We don't know yet for sure. I would think that having at least one good linebacker will probably be pretty useful to have. Even if it's not your user, just having someone that's a little bit bigger and can kind of stuff the run lanes a little bit faster. Linebackers have better tackling and pursuit, not always, but I don't know yet. We'll just have to see about linebackers, but I do think that obviously the same thing with defensive line, right outside linebacker, left outside linebacker, that'll be important to have because they're basically just defensive linemen most of the time. They're usually on the line. Every now and again, they'll hop into pass coverage depending on the formation you're in. But again, with your linebackers, really you want to value speed, pursuit, tackling, block shit. That's going to be kind of the common theme with everyone. But you definitely want to have players that can stop the run. There's going to be some gurus out there that are going to be able to pass the ball well. I have a couple people in my online dynasty that I promise you, no matter how this game plays, they're going to be very good passers and they're going to dot up every defense no matter what it looks like. So, with that being said, you need to give yourself the best chance to stop the run because that's where the easy one play, one juke touchdowns happen, and those feel so bad because even if you blow up a run 6 times in a row, all it takes is one lucky spin move and that player's gone. So you need to have the stats that can at least combat that as much as possible. For the safety position, to me this is probably the second most important spot in your defense behind your defensive lineman. In every other football game I've played, I would say that your corners and safeties are probably your most important positions. This year, again, without having had my hands on the game personally, and just from what I've seen with my eyes, I think the run's going to be good, and so that means that your safeties are your safety net. You've got to have speed, acceleration, pursuit, tackle, everything I've said before. Obviously, you're going to want to have decent man coverage, decent zone coverage. I just feel like stopping the pass will not be as difficult as stopping the run. That's just how I feel personally. Passing looks good. I will say that. Offense in general in this game looks really strong, but I still feel like you're going to have a harder time stopping the run. I could be wrong. Maybe some of these players will just really blow up the run. Maybe people will figure out some really glitchy plays that can blow up the run really easy. But just from everything I've seen so far, the run looks super solid and is going to be very annoying to deal with. We haven't even had the game yet, so people haven't even figured out the glitchy run plays like the halfback stretch of Madden 20 or the RPO plays, which option plays work best. So you want speed on your safeties at the very least. Even if you don't have the Caleb Downs, the Malachi Starks of college football, find safeties that have good speed because at the very least, they can make the running back have to slow down or do a move for more players to come and help. But obviously the key stats you want: speed, acceleration, tackle, pursuit. Hit power would even be nice if you can just blow up the run and make them fumble a couple times a game, or even just one time a game. Super valuable there. I think so. You should really target your linemen and your safeties, and that's going to be probably the most important thing on the field. Again, we haven't seen the abilities yet, so maybe some corners will have some kind of crazy physical stats or physical abilities that really help stop the run. We don't know yet, but I would just assume on paper especially with abilities not being a guarantee every single time. Go after your defensive line first of all, and then go after your safeties. Then kind of build whatever's left from there, because you can make corners work as long as they have high speed. That's how Madden's always been. Even the old college football games, that was basically the case. Man coverage and zone coverage stats will be somewhat important since abilities are tied to them, but like, you mostly just want the speed on the field. If you have the speed, you kind of bail yourself out of the low coverage stats. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We're going to be going deep into the rosters whenever the game drops in 3 days. I'm going to be diving down into the deepest parts of the depth chart and find the hidden gems for y'all to use in y'all's dynasties, to target in y'all's transfer portals. That's the goal. I'm going to really try to find these players to make your experience better. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. It's Real Jev, and I'm out.